I'm going to get into Matt Isn't Wrong, and I'm talking about my buddy Matt Starr, who's made like 3 or 4 videos recently about the $100 gig is the dishwasher gig. And I think a lot of people misinterpreted what he was getting at. So I'll give you my thoughts and ideas on that because it kind of goes off some of the stuff I was talking about recently. First of all, let's do a quick flyover of the Goofy holidays for July 30th. When I looked this up, there was like 30 of them, and there's no way I'm going to read all 30. So I grabbed, looks like 5. Mike says Matt is definitely right about that. I get to meet him Saturday. Such a great dude. Oh, cool. Yeah, man. Matt is awesome. I've known Matt now for 11 years or so. Yeah. So Matt and I have worked with a lot of the same people, and that's how we connected to begin with. So, we all know that Matt Starr played in Ace Frehley's band. Ace Frehley from Kiss. My band Midline worked for about 2 years with former Kiss manager Bill Aucoin until Bill had passed away. And so we have a lot of connections through the world of Kiss. Anyway, here are the my top 5 pick of goofy, stupid holidays for July 30th. One is it's National Father-in-Law Day. Maybe I should call my father-in-law, and I have 2 because Mary's dad and Mary's stepdad should call up and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And then they'll be wondering why I called. The other is it's National Cell Phone Courtesy Month. A whole month devoted to cell phone courtesy. So, when I talk about cell phone courtesy or etiquette, I am super guilty of all of these things as well. But I like to at least think about if I'm watching a movie that I'm not on my phone. I have a metronome to imitate my phone, but not be watching a movie and scrolling social media or something. Like, can't I just devote the 2 hours to the movie? Sure, I can. But there's like that weird little addiction that we have. Or if somebody's talking to me that I'm not going, yeah, great, I'm listening. Yeah, no, you're not. You're hearing, but you're not really listening. Let's see. The other is today is International Day of Friendship. So, my gosh, all my cool friends, I love you. This one's a good one. It's National Cheesecake Day. I'm pretty sure that out of 86 episodes that I've done, that's a little over a year, that I have said it's National Cheesecake Day several times. So I think National Cheesecake Day comes around frequently. But here is my favorite one that I saw, is that this month, it's a month, is Lasagna Awareness Month. It's Lasagna Awareness Month. Anybody out there can think of it's some kind of holiday or awareness of something, and you can make it a thing. You can make it a thing. My buddy Matt Starr put out some live videos recently, and if you don't know who Matt Starr is a drummer friend of mine who I mentioned when I first started this. I met him probably 10, 11 years ago. Matt was drumming for a band called Burning Rain with Keith St. John and Doug Aldridge from Whitesnake, and then Sean McNabb, bass player, played with Dokken and other groups like that. They had that, and I was doing a record with Keith St. John, so I was checking out Keith's work. So I had Burning Rain, sent a message to Matt, connected with Matt, eventually met Matt in person, and Matt taught drum lessons, lived in LA, and right around that same time he got the gig playing for Mr. Big, and just a lot of great things happening for him. And then, he was on tour, and then he'd be back and he'd be teaching drum lessons. And so somewhere right around that time, he started doing this career coaching thing, and because he was having a lot of success with what he was doing. Gary, thank you. Matt was having a lot of success with playing with Mr. Big, and there's numerous other things that he's done as well. Some of them for short periods of time, but rubbing elbows with the right people nonetheless, and very determined. And so anyway, he got into this coaching thing, and so when he got into coaching, I decided to sign up for a session with him and see if he had any advice for me. So this has been quite a while ago now. I think it was it was during the NAMM show of 2019. So that's when I actually met Matt in person and started asking him all these questions. And I think it was supposed to be an hour session. I think we were closer to 2, two drummers hanging out in a coffee shop. And we had more to talk about than just career coaching because we knew so many of the same people. So, excuse me, that was just a great hang. But I got tons of valuable information from this coaching session. And it was really inspiring. And it inspired me so much to actually take actions and start following through with this guidance. So, I've talked about this in the past, and I don't know how things would go, depending on who the people are that come and go in and out of your life, and what impact they'll have on you, and then what your personal desires and dreams and things like that entail. So for me, it was I had a good life, but I was also miserable at the same time, like deeply miserable, because I really felt like I was meant to be a drummer, and I had all these little peaks of success along the way, especially with Midline, doing radio stuff and touring and being part of a record label for a while, and out on the road and doing little short tours with Saliva and Breaking Benjamin and Drowning Pool and Motley Crue and all of these things, which were really great things to put on your resume, but nothing that was like paying the mortgage. And so you'd go and have all this rock star moments and be on the road, and then come home and I would mow lawns and build fences and put patios together and all the things that a normal, responsible adult would do to take care of their family. So I just felt stuck, and I felt hopeless, like there wasn't a way out of what I was doing. And something had to change. Something had to give. I wasn't sure what the answers were. I didn't know which map to look at and all of those things. And so, good morning, Greg. So when I finally got to meet up with Matt and I saw all the success that Matt was having, I thought, well, here's a guy that I have a connection with and who's doing the things that I want to be doing. And so let's seek advice from somebody who's doing it and who's there. So that's how that all came to be, and that's the path that that was the thing that set me on this path to be where I'm at now, sitting in this chair in my own studio that I built at my house. And you guys have seen all this work that's happening here. So a lot of that had to do with Matt's encouragement, and Matt lining me out, like saying, you have to do this and you have to do that and stick to it, and you have to make progress, and just put this mindset together for me that made it seem possible to become a full-time musician, which so many of us spend so long living in that world that nobody's ever going to pay you enough. There's not going to be enough work. And so, you just resign yourself to telling yourself that I'm just doing this for fun, which all of that's fine, by the way, if that's the case. So that's a little backstory on Matt Starr and my relationship with Matt Starr and getting everything to this point. So I owe a lot of thanks and gratitude to Matt for setting me on this path and this course and this way of thinking to where I am today. And that took several years to happen. And I would say my quality of life now is so much better than it was a few years ago. And I'm a much happier person. You know, I'm pretty happy anyway, but like I said, inside I was living a miserable existence and just felt stuck. And so Matt Starr helped me get out of that rut and that way of thinking and to change my perspective on so many things. So that led me to being able to teach drum lessons full time, recording drum tracks for people, and that influence that had over me is also influenced playing with Cliff Miller. It's influenced playing with Midline, and just my network growth has expanded so much, and it includes people like my good friend Bart Robley, who just dropped by, and that circle of friends, just like this, everything is exponential in its growth, and it's really pretty cool. And none of it happens overnight. It's a daily determination to maintain what I have while I'm also seeking other opportunities as we go along. Bart says Matt knows his stuff. Great guy. Yes, absolutely. So that brings me to Matt's recent post where he said the $100 gig is a dishwasher job. I think he said it a little bit better. Now that's like a headline news kind of thing, which I immediately recognized, because when you go to do video, like live videos, and I'll bring up Drummer's Education Connection because Bart is here, and you want to put titles in your description that catches people's attention, that will want them to engage and check out what you have to say or what you're doing. And so I thought it was really smart of Matt to say the $100 gig is the dishwasher gig. Well, being a dishwasher doesn't sound like an appealing career choice. And I think maybe all of us agree with that. I think of a dishwasher job is like an entry-level job, a job that a high school kid would have because it's a temporary position. It's something that you're doing to gain work experience, you know, having to report to somebody on certain days from certain times and being committed to doing something, and that arrangement is being compensated monetarily for your efforts, and that boils down to an hourly wage, typically a minimum wage job. So when I started working at the movie theater as a teenager, minimum wage was $3.85 an hour. Who can make a living off of $3.85 an hour? Pretty much nobody that I could think of in that time. Minimum wage, I don't even know what it is anymore. I'm kind of out of touch with what minimum wage. I think I last remember minimum wage being like $7.50 an hour. But a lot of jobs are paying $15 an hour. So the dishwasher job is an entry-level position. It's a position that is not designed to be a career opportunity, right? It's not meant for that. It's meant for young people coming into the workforce, like I said, to gain experience and to move up the ladder. So, fast food jobs are very similar to that. Bart says, I worked at a movie theater for 3... Bart, you and I have so much in common, and, we keep uncovering these little nuggets. Like, I think we live in very parallel lives. That is awesome. That is awesome. I love you, man. That's so cool. So, when it comes to the music business is... what's an entry-level music job to have? And all I could do is relate it to my own personal experience. So when when I started putting bands together in high school, I was trying to find the best guitar player or a best bass player, or just anybody willing to get together in a room and jam and see if something would happen. And just the sheer enjoyment of that, because at that point of your journey, you're still figuring out your instrument. Everybody else in the band is still figuring out their instrument, and you have this growth period all happening simultaneously. So if I go back and listen to old cassettes from these bands I put together in high school, they are awful. They are awful to listen to. But when I do listen to them, I kind of smile because I recognize that growth period happening. But I also remember where I was in my life at that time, and how exciting that was to be doing that thing. But I didn't stay in, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not still trying to figure out how my instrument works, and I'm not playing with people who are still trying to figure that out. There's a lot of talent and experience that has happened amongst everybody. So when you get together to play, it sounds pretty good right out of the gate, which is nice. But I'm not still living in my parents' bedroom flushing this stuff out. You know, there was growth that happened and moved along. So, you know, then you start putting together your first gigs, and you're just willing to play if somebody will let you, and you're just getting your feet wet. You're starting to figure that out. Chip is here, my buddy Chip. How's it going, man? See, Chip always says yo because I always say yo on the drummer's head. I love that. Fist pump over the internet, Chip. So yeah, you're just looking for any place to play. I remember my first band I put together in high school, and we hired a sound company to do lighting and sound, and teamed up with another couple artists, bands, singer people from high school. And I remember my band played like the same 6 songs over and over again. Like we played our 6 songs, and the next group came up and they played their short set of songs, and then the third group, and then we rotated throughout the night. We did that like 3 or 4 times, the same songs. Now, we thought we were rock stars when we did that, and we did not get paid. But man, that was like an important phase that we went through. So then you move on, and you start looking for opportunities. Gary is full of wisdom here. Gary says, I think the venues quantify it on an hourly basis, $25 per hour per person in a band. Makes sense to them. Same money I made 40 years ago in LA. Yeah, and I hear that quite often, and I experience similar stories off and on as well. Greg says, my first musical job in high school was a live sound engineer. Between that and gigging, I made more money than my friends who had real jobs. Well, that's awesome for you, and see, you were on the right path early, which is great. So I'm just saying that, when we enter the music workforce, we're not going to be playing arenas typically, right? As you step out of the band room at school onto an arena stage, unless you're some just a unique anomaly that happened. So I was looking for opportunities, and I came across one with a company called Worldwide Showcase out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And they put bands together, and we did high school assembly programs on Stay in School and things like that. So I auditioned, didn't get it, kept bugging them, and then they had a drummer who washed out, so there was a drummer position open, and I got hired. Now, check this out. So I went on tour for 7 months for a whopping $75 a week. Not a gig, a week. $75 a week. I wasn't a dishwasher yet. I wasn't even taking out the trash. I was probably if you were going to have a job, I was probably had a toothbrush and soap and was cleaning the parking lot. $75 a week was my paycheck, but my per diem per week was $90. So what is that, $165 a week between my pay and per diem? Not much. Not much. But look, I was 19, 20 years old, and I was on tour, and I just thought that was the next step in what I'm doing. I am not still playing music for $75 a week. See, I moved up in the world. I finally became a dishwasher to where I had the bar gig. And so, which I still do bar gigs occasionally with Cliff. Some of those are more bar gigs / concert venues. And like I said earlier, playing a lot of original material in that. However, when I came back from Florida, I had a band together for a short time. You know, the whole band would do a show and we would make $100, so like $25 a person. Pretty low dose stuff. If we got paid. Still living in this world of, you know, I'm telling myself I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this for experience. I'm doing it for the love of music, you know, and I had my day job, you know, working at movie theaters and then working for Hertz Rent-A-Car. I did that job for a long time. I always had jobs I could quit really easy if I needed to. But, you know, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a mortgage. I was just responsible for me. So that's kind of the world I lived in. Got into Midline, a lot of great stuff happening as far as that goes, and still going today, that band. That operates on a totally different level. But I did a couple other tours where I was out touring with a cover band, you know, making $100 a night, $150 a night. And I was married at that point, just me and the producer. And trying to send money home was nearly impossible to do. And fortunately, Mary had a job that was keeping everything paid. But the downside of that was, you know, struggling financially and then not even being together was a little rough. You know, did that for a few months and that was enough of that. So I came home. But yeah, so playing off and on with different groups, you know, when I got back into playing for money, I started off with this silly little band playing sort of a house bar gig in Meridian, but we had to play 5 45-minute sets on a Friday night and Saturday night, and everybody got paid $100, and that was $100 I was happy to have. Again, I was, you know, I had my landscaping business, so it wasn't like I wasn't in a mindset to where I was like, I have to make more money playing drums. I wasn't living in that world because I thought that living in that world was impossible or was never going to happen. It never seemed like a way out because it never seemed like a way in, right? So I would just resign myself to, you know, I own a landscape business. I play this bar gig, you know, 3 or 4 times a month or 3 or 4 weekends a month doing that and, you know, making that $200 a weekend. I was very thankful to have that. And I never, you know, like Gary said, I'm still making the same amount of money I was 40 years ago. And that's a bummer place to live in. But it's a dishwasher job is what Matt Starr calls that. Now, some people are happy being a dishwasher and they have their day job where that's their main income and all of that. So I think you have to when you look at these things, it has to get a little bit narrow focus on what each individual person's desires are and what they're wanting to do and what they're wanting to be a part of. Greg says, I kind of miss the 5-hour night sets. Oh. Well, Greg, if you were in a situation where it was really good stuff, then that's awesome. I haven't been part of something that I want to do for 5 hours. That's what I love about Midline is when Midline plays, we're playing a half hour to an hour and a half set, and it's all original and it's good stuff. So I like that world and the world of Cliff too. When I play with Cliff, more, the general norm is to play for 3 hours or 3 45-minute sets. It wasn't too long ago. Well, I say it wasn't too long ago because we do a lot. So again, I'm in this time warp. I can't remember when things happened, but we played up in at Whiskey's in Sun Valley, and we played 3 hours straight, no breaks. We just on stage just felt like, and the place was packed. We felt like, man, if we stop and take a break, this momentum is gone. People are going to be gone, and the whole vibe of everything is going to be just out the window. So we chose to just keep going, and that was one of the funnest shows I've done in a long time, and it's one that's really stands out in my head. That was just awesome to do. So, Greg, if you had 5 hours of that, then that's awesome too. So, you got to look at each individual situation. For me, my living is doing music, and thankfully with the due diligence of Mr. Cliff Miller and his business relationships, and he too is well on his way to just being a full-time musician himself, and building these relationships take a long time and take years to develop to where he's doing all of this work, negotiating with what we're going to get paid and where we're going to play and where we're going to stay and all of those things. And that's a big responsibility to carry. And very thankful for those. And but I'm at a point now with people that I play with, the $100 dishwasher gig has become less and less and less and less of that. And I don't want to say what we make because I think that's not good to do that. But look, I'm able to pay my bills, and that's really an important place to be in. So I've got 3 things going for me: teaching, recording, and playing live. Those are 3 main revenue streams for me. So important that I'm not letting any of those go. I have to keep all of those things happening, and it's really great. So we don't wash dishes very often anymore. Sometimes we do have to go back and help out in the kitchen, which if you are a restaurant owner, you're in charge of the whole operation of the thing, and sometimes you have to step back in that world for a moment to get things caught up and to make things run smooth. And so, yeah, we still do wash dishes occasionally, but not as often as we used to, which is great. It's a great place to be, and things keep moving more and more forward. Take the Rolling Stones, for example. None of those guys are washing dishes. Okay, they don't have a dishwasher job. And imagine the world without the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or anything like that. Well, Fred, the music business was different then. Yes, it was. We are left in the music business that we have now, and so we have to navigate those waters and figure out how to make it work. And me complaining about the venue or the business owner or things like that doesn't improve the situation whatsoever. It just gives me an opportunity to vent, which I I can do that to my wife. Here, let me spew all my disappointment at you. So that's where that's going. Greg says, I had some crews that were an absolute pleasure and blessing to be playing with. The 5-hour sets flew by like nothing. So much fun. I loved every minute of it. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So I do know this for a fact, that when the gigs become better, the venues tend to be nicer. The amount of time you have to play becomes less, and the amount that you get paid is typically more. So it's interesting when you're kind of in the trenches, so to speak. The money's not so good, and the time demand that you have on you is greater. And it's, when you start climbing out of that, it's just advancing forward. Like, so you have your entry level positions, and then there's some advancement that happens along the way. Just think about any place that you work. If there's career advancement opportunities, usually that comes with a pay raise, because you've proven yourself, and you're worth more. And some things you don't have to do anymore. Like, for example, when I owned my own landscaping business, when I first started my landscaping business, I did anything and everything. I had to have money. Not that that's changed, but I had to have money. And I couldn't be picky on what I chose to do. I was just trying to get Fisher Landscaping on the map. And a lot of that happens through word of mouth. So if somebody wanted me to come over and pull weeds for a couple hours, and, I'd make $75, $100, or, that was money in my pocket that I could help support my family. Well, as I gained more and more of a reputation, and I started doing more quality work, I didn't have to mow lawns as often. I didn't pull weeds as often. Those little jobs I started to be able to say no to, because I didn't have time to get to them, because I was on bigger and better things. And I think that's true with the music business, is that you can leave the small stuff behind and move on to the bigger and better things. But like I said a few minutes ago, you kind of have to narrow in on what each person's individual goals and desires are. So Matt posting, stop with the $100 dishwasher gigs. I think a lot of people took offense to that and kind of missed the whole point of what he was saying. And so then when they don't have anything to say, then they start taking personal shots at somebody, like, oh, I don't like your mustache, or things like that, or start making fun of that. And so paying attention to details is important. Read all the words, get all the information before you start doing knee-jerk reaction things. I think that's so apparent in the land of politics. It's all headline news and knee-jerk reaction things, and I just stay out of all of that garbage. It's just garbage. It's exactly what it is, garbage. Yeah. So I just try to run in the lanes that I know about. Which I think that's smart to do that. So what else did I write? Okay. So just in the last few minutes here is, last week I did my podcast was about stop saying you don't care about the money. And I think this might be part of what Matt was getting at, is that you have musicians out there who say, I'm just doing this for fun. I've got my day job, and if we get paid in beer and pizza, we're cool with that. If that's the land you live in, that's awesome. I was in that land once too. But now my life depends on providing for my family through music. So beer and pizza won't pay my mortgage or my cell phone bill. It just won't. I tried to take beer to my mortgage company in exchange for my house, and they didn't take it. So I know that is true. Or I tried to send a dozen pizzas to T-Mobile and to thank you for letting me use your cell phone, and I hope I can continue to do so. It doesn't work that way. So don't pay me in beer and pizza, because it's not legal tender for all debts, public and private. So I think Matt's thing was more geared towards people who say they don't care about money, say they're in it for fun. They get the $100 gig, and then the next thing they're doing is they're complaining about the venue won't pay more than what they're paying, and it's impossible to move forward. And so then they start getting really negative about things. Well, wait a second. You just said you didn't care about money. You only did it for fun. You weren't, and then you got paid, and then you complained about it. Well, you're doing a dishwasher job, and you want to be the manager. You got to take the steps to become the manager. And I think that's probably broad strokes overview of how I interpreted that. So, yeah, it's what each individual person's goals and desires and what they're hoping for the outcome to be. So, is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? I'm not sure. Let me look here. Yeah, the $100 gig is what you arranged. That was what you negotiated with the club. And some people say, well, that's just the way it is. Well, what can you do to change that? What can you do to change that? I think you can still do music and love it, and it's fun. But you can have those things and still be compensated nicely for your time and your talent. I teach drum lessons, and I love teaching drum lessons. I love when my students come here and they're excited to be here and they're excited to play drums. And when you have a little breakthrough moment, it's awesome and it's really rewarding. And they compensate me for that time. And happily are compensating me for that time. That happens recording music for people. Hey, I have songs that I want you to play drums on. We want Fred Fisher to play drums on our song. Okay, great. I'm going to deliver the best performance I can so that they're really, really happy. And then they pay me handsomely to record drums for them. And then they have what they want. I have what I want, and they're very happy. And then, if they come back for more, that's great. So why should that change playing live? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. We, the music population, us musicians, we should be the ones who get to dictate our time and our talents and the value of that. So, what are you bringing to the table then? What would make a venue or a club owner or somebody look at you and say, you bring a lot of value to my business, and yes, we can negotiate something? Are you at that level? Are you bringing that to the table? Because if you're not bringing that to the table, maybe the venue doesn't care who you are or what you are or whatever, and they just have a budget to pay bands. They don't care what band it is. They just have some music happening, and they're not worried about the quality or whatever. Can you clean the dishes and we can reserve food on them? Great. Here you go. What does Greg say? Some people only do $100 level work, not to be negative, but yeah, it's true. Some people only do $100 level type of work. I think there's a lot of hopelessness attached in this subject of being paid $100 a person. So if you got a 4-piece band, you're making $400. Again, maybe a venue can only afford, or they only budget $400 a night for music, and they don't care if there's 2 people in your band or 12. It's $400. So you have to look at all of those things and say, am I okay walking out of here doing all this work? You know, I spent an hour packing up my drums and going down and setting them up, and then sound check for, you know, and setup, and then waiting is another hour and a half. And by the way, I had to pay $12 to park in the parking garage. And now I'm going to play for 3 hours to 5 hours. And then I'm going to spend another hour and a half tearing down, another, you know, half hour or so drive home. You know, all in, you're 8 to 9 hours in, and you got paid $20. So what is that? $2 an hour? $2.50 an hour? Something? $2.25? That seems pretty weak. That's less than I made working at the movie theater in 1989 or 90 or whatever that was. Yeah. So you better really love that pizza and beer. And even sometimes the pizza and the beer, it's a 20% discount. It's not actually given to you for free. So there's all of those things to consider. So at any rate, one more plug on this for the new Midline video and song, Mailman, our cover by Soundgarden. And, you know, we thought it would be a great tie-in with the 30th anniversary release of Super Unknown, which, you know, of course, I grew up in a time in the 80s where I was in love with all the hair bands. I really liked Motley Crue and Warrant and Poison and all of those. Matt Muckle says, "Stop being so damn happy. What the hell is wrong with you?" Matt, it is about 8:00 here in Boise, which you're in Pennsylvania, is that right, or Connecticut? So what is it? 10 a.m. I don't think anybody should be this happy. That's how fast I was talking. Hello, coffee. Be this happy at 10 a.m., right? This is more like a late afternoon laughing. Yeah, Pennsylvania, 10 a.m. Matt, I hope you're doing awesome, dude. I can't wait to actually see you in person and give you a big hug and hang out. That would be great. That would be great. I love seeing all the stuff that Matt Muckle here is doing. Matt Muckle is currently drumming for the band Kingdom Come. So if you guys remember Kingdom Come, you could see Matt Muckle playing drums with them, and he is freaking awesome. Matt plays freaking die, but in a very musical manner. So I felt like I hit pretty hard, and I think that I do, but Matt destroys me. But we got the stick spin in there, and just love being monsters on the drums. So that's, you know, I love that about Matt. Mr. Matt Muckle, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, I just want to say again that Matt Starr just had such a huge impact on me a few years ago, and just really set me on this path, this journey, which I am in love with, and it just keeps growing from there. So away we go. Oh, before I wrap up, so I announced recently that I became an Aquarian Drumhead endorsed artist, which is super, super great. Thank you, Chris Brady at Aquarian Drumheads, for bringing me on. So now if you go to aquariandrumheads.com and you go to artists, and you can find me alphabetically, Fred Fisher, and it's really cool to be a part of that team. Just like becoming endorsed with Vader Drumsticks, I have an artist page on their website as well, which is cool. Like if you search that alphabetically, you'll see Frank Ferreira, who is the drummer for Guns N' Roses, and then there's me, and then there's Josh Freese, who is the drummer for Foo Fighters. So all Vader guys. So Vader and Aquarian, thank you to those two companies for believing in what I can do, and in turn promote those products that I use day in and day out.